Scotland can give you what you go to find. You're walking over a landscape which is full of history and geography and, wildlife. There's everything there to get interested in. I'm Hamish Brown, and I'm notorious for being the person who first did all the Munros in a single walk. And having done that, I wrote a book about it, which has never been out of print since. I mean, the whole point of it was self-propelled. On the boring bits where you'd have long walks on tarmac, I did allow myself a push bike. Sometimes you did quite a lot of pushing. Having done all the Munros, we decided we'd do a foot link, which hadn't been done, linking Ben Nevis, Scawfell Pike, Snowdon and Carntoohill, the country summits on foot, which also took in, I think it was a 6th round of the Munros or something. It did the West Highland Way, it did the Pennine Way, it did all sorts of things on the way, and took in all the 3,000ers out with Scotland as well. So, you can play at these things. I enjoyed writing at school. It was one of the few things I was good at amongst my dreadful education. So I didn't go to university or anything. I used to have a box under my desk at the beginning, a shoebox with a slot in the top, and on it was written a misquote of a misquote. It said, "All that glitters is not sold." And that's where all my rejection slips went. And that shoebox was full of rejection slips. But I gradually got there. And it's actually quite rewarding when people, come back to you and say that something you've written gave them pleasure or inspired them. It's very rewarding. Some of the most rewarding years I had were the years at Braehead, taking the kids into the wilds, because they got so much out of it, and it meant so much to them for the rest of their lives, a lot of them. It was a junior secondary school. The brainy ones went off to the high school, and we got what was left, and they discovered they were not brainless and all the rest of it. They could be just as good people as anybody else. One of them had been loosing coal trucks and letting them go down the incline and crashing off the lines just for the hell of it. So he asked me to take them up to Glencoe in January and knock the hell out of them and see if it did them any good. And it did them a remarkable amount of good. And before long I was seconded to do nothing else but taking the kids into the wilds. Kids loved things like that, but they were learning an awful lot. They were learning and learning without being aware they were learning, which is how learning should be. I was often astonished at the kids how kind they were to each other. They could be devils. I mean, all kids can be devils at times. But there was one boy I remember who had a desperate home background, and the kids came to me and said, "Look, we should get him away." So get him up to Rannoch, and he can't afford it, sir. So I said, "Well, what are you lot going to do about it?" We'll have a Friday night dancing thing, and we'll raise money that way, and we'll get enough money to send them away. And they did, and that lad blossomed from that. There was one occasion I remember, we went off for the day on the hills above Loch Rannoch, Munro bagging, and he asked, would it be okay if he just stayed behind? Now, could you imagine nowadays actually allowing that? A kid to stay by himself in the bothy and the blackwood? But it was exactly what he wanted. He was getting, the headmaster's lovely phrase, respite from pressure. We came back at the end of the day. He was sitting in front of the fire. He chopped a pile of wood. He peeled the spuds. He had a kettle on the Swee boiling away, waiting for us. He was the happiest he had probably been in months, years. And that's, what he needed. Respite from pressure. And, it's very difficult to get this to people nowadays. Oh yes, This is a very short one,
Okay.
which written when I was young and just getting that feeling of getting up to Glencoe and climbing and camping there. This is called Glencoe Cameo. I desire the high place, the place of sun-touched night, of the veils of mist arising and the eagled wings of light, of red crags of Midian, the blackness of the ridge, and the late splash in the river below the bridge.